is Stir Up Sunday. Yes, that's Stir Up, S-T-I-R, Sunday. Why, you might say, is it called Stir Up Sunday? Well, the Sunday before the start of Advent, which begins the following Sunday, it's the time when in the past people would know that it was time to start making a certain item for Christmas. So they would have needed this, and in time they would have needed this. Any ideas yet? Stir Up Sunday? The people who were in domestic service knew that it was time to start making the plum pudding. And the plum pudding had different symbols for different things. It's important sometimes that we look back and see what these traditions mean. And I think the plum pudding is one very good example. In the plum pudding, they say there are 13 ingredients, and that is supposed to represent, in tradition, the 12 disciples and Jesus. And so as they're stirring the pudding, they stir it from east to west, and that represents the wise men coming to see Jesus. And then on top of it, on the day that they eat it, they put a sprig of holly. That reminds them of how Jesus died, when he died with a crown of thorns on his head. Stir Up Sunday. It's not just about the excitement of Christmas and all the nice things that we have to eat or the presents. It's reminding us of Jesus and his work with the disciples. And it's reminding us of what he did for us as he died on the cross with that crown, that painful crown on his head. Stir Up Sunday. So what else does it mean then for us? It means that we have to come out of our complacency. We've got to stir ourselves up. And you might say, what for? What do we need to stir ourselves up about? This is Stir Up Sunday, so we still have to stir ourselves up about something. The tradition on a Sunday like this, according to the lectionary, reads one of these passages, and this is one of them. It's the parable of the mustard seed. Matthew chapter 13 and verse 31. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like this. A man takes a mustard seed and sows. He sows it in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, and when it grows up, it's the biggest of all plants. It becomes a tree so that the birds come and make their nests in its branches. And on to verse 35. I use these parables when I speak to people. I will tell them things unknown since the creation of the world. A parable is like a riddle, and Jesus tells us something that we can see around us. The people at the time when he spoke knew what a mustard plant looked like, and like all those other parables that he spoke of, and the farmer sowing the seed, and the parable of the lost sheep, that was all just daily life in the time that he was speaking. And he used these parables to make people think, a riddle. So what about the mustard seed? The mustard seed, he sows it in the field, the smallest of all the seeds, and yet it grows to one of the biggest bushes. Well, okay, so what? So what about it? Well, two things. First of all, we sow seeds, don't we, as part of our community? We can stir ourselves up at times to sow seeds in new places. And perhaps now is the time, isn't it? We've time to look again. The AGM coming up. Decisions will be made. Time to stir ourselves up. God always wants us to do that because things move on, things change. None so more as in this time of a COVID epidemic. So what's our response? What have we to stir ourselves up for? Apart from thinking of keeping ourselves safe and trying to protect ourselves, are we just complacently looking after ourselves, or are we thinking of others like we would normally in our time of when all is well? The other thing about the mustard seed is this. It says it becomes a tree so that birds come and make their nests in its branches. So it's not just a seed that grows into a bush or a tree. It has a function. The birds use it and they build in it. They make their home in it. It makes a home for somebody else. And so what we do can make something good for other people. Which brings us to the collect for the day. Stir up, we beseech you, Lord, your faithful people, to follow you in the way that you showed us, so that we can have more grace upon grace upon grace to do your will. So stir us up to do your will. Well, I've been stirred up this week by one thing, you might say, that really hit me. And I'm sure you've been stirred up by other things. I've been stirred up by the story I was told from a man working with asylum seekers about a number of young men who have come and sought refuge in this country. They wanted to avoid conscription in their own country. In Eritrea, young boys were being taken out of school to join the army. And in other countries, conscription meant that you could be free at a certain point. But no, not there. You were there for life. You became a slave in your own country. That's why they were fleeing. And not only did they flee the country, but they had been tortured. They had marks of torture on their body. These are the people that are seeking refuge here. What can we do for them? Well, we can pray. But that's only a small example, isn't it, of the need that we need to be stirred up about. The amount of people being trafficked into this country, the amount of slavery in our own time. So let's not, this time of approaching Advent, get so caught up in COVID and the awful pandemic that it is, that we forget about the other issues that are there for people who for them COVID is such a minor thing. Stir Up Sundays followed by the 4 Sundays in Advent. And as we light the candles representing the light of Jesus coming into the world, he is our hope, he is our peace, he is our joy, and he is love. And that is what we have to gain. All his hope, his peace, his joy, his love. He is the one that enables us to grow like a mustard seed for him. But there's one more thing about that mustard seed, and there's one more thing about what God wants us to do for him. We have to wait. And that's what this Sunday is about too, waiting. The mustard seed doesn't grow in a day. God's plans won't all happen in a day. God's will for our lives won't all be shown in a day, for the community in a day. And so we have to learn patience. The patience in this time. Stir ourselves up, wait, have patience, but don't be complacent, and do what God wants you to do. God bless. Morris will play for us before we finish a hymn of praise to God, who is always with us. Jubilate.